Alright, so fair warning before we start. My neighbor's dog has been barking all day, which has made it difficult for recording for my audiobook, amongst other things I want to do. But I wanted to get this movie vlog out, so if you hear a dog in the background, that's what's going on. I'm just going to have to get over it. So, Rebecca, the remake of the Hitchcock classic and new adaptation of the book of the same name, came out in 2020. It was one of my most anticipated films of that year. It's directed by Ben Wheatley. It stars Armie Hammer as Mr. DeWinter, Lily James as the protagonist, and Kristen Thomas as Mrs. Danvers. Now, I went into this cautiously optimistic. I knew that it wasn't going to be better than the Hitchcock original because it's my favorite Hitchcock film, so that's how I went into it, wanting it to be its own thing and not wanting it to be like the Psycho remake where it's a shot-for-shot remake just with different actors and in color. And I was really surprised. I loved this movie. I thought it was really well done. Now I will say, if you've seen the original Rebecca or you've read the book, you're pretty much going to know what happens. There's not a whole lot of new surprises. But that being said, I was never bored. Even though I knew what was coming, I was never disinterested in the movie, even though I knew what was coming. And the scenes that were intense or sweet or sad they still felt that way. And it's because the film feels like it has its own identity. It doesn't feel like it tries to copy Hitchcock's original. It has its own reason to be. And the acting is great too. I think Armie Hammer, Lily James, and Kristen Thomas, the three core actors in the film, all bring their own identity. And I think Lily James is the protagonist, and again, I was glad she wasn't named in this film because I felt like that was very important to the character, no matter who was playing it. This character's isolation and feeling of unimportance was so important that even the audience doesn't know her name, and there's even a scene where her name was about to be mentioned and that person that was about to say her name gets cut off, and I absolutely loved that. But there are scenes in the movie that are directed more like a horror movie, and it's like during sequences where Lily James's character is exploring the house, and Mr. DeWinter's house, which is huge, is a really great set piece, and I think that is one of the benefits of it being a more modern movie, is that there is more for them to do, and there's more camera techniques that they can use to give a sort of overwhelming atmosphere that this house brings. Kristen Thomas as Mrs. Danvers was perfect. I felt like that character was still just as creepy as she was in the original, and still just as threatening and as much as a villain. And there was a certain vibe that her relationship with the former Rebecca, that there might have been more than just friends or a mentor and student type of relationship, and that was hinted very apparently, at least in my opinion, in the Hitchcock original, and it's still maintained in this remake, and it's done in several different ways without being too on the nose, whereas you could see it from several different angles depending on what your viewpoint is. But overall, the story of these two characters falling in love, and this woman finding out that his ex-wife that has passed on has cast this wide shadow not only on her life but on the thoughts of his entire family in this town, who he thought Rebecca was just the bee's knees, is really compelling, and it's heartbreaking in a lot of ways too, how the protagonist doesn't feel like she matches up, and it's well maintained in this remake. And it's something I'm looking forward to revisiting. I'm hoping that it will get a Blu-ray release so I can watch it with commentary, because I think Ben Wheatley's direction is really well done. And as I was looking up how to spell all the names of the cast and crew, I was really disappointed to see how low this movie has scored on Rotten Tomatoes, a 39%. I mean, are you serious? And this is why I don't really go to sites like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb unless I'm looking up cast and crew. It's like I like to ignore the rating altogether so that way I can make my own decision, because there's a lot of really great movies that I love that are rated really low, and I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, I I feel like they're, I don't know. It's, it's something I used to do where I would go on there to decide what movies I was going to watch, and then I grew up a little bit, and I was like, because that movie is just bogged down by a number, and people are so diverse and different in their opinions and their tastes that I don't think a number should define how you go to see a film. Now, I think that, getting on a bit of a tangent here, reading out a review or listening to a vlog about the movie is totally fine. I think that way it's like, okay, this guy who's talking about the film, he seems like he's got similar tastes to mine, maybe I'll check it out. Or maybe you have opposite tastes of me, and you're just kind of interested in seeing a film that you wouldn't usually watch. I think that is really valid, and it's awesome to think that way when you're, thinking about watching a movie or a show or reading a book. I think that it's important to not be bogged down by a number or a grade or anything, and that's why I've never graded any films or books on my channel. But I digress. The remake of Rebecca, have you seen it? It's on Netflix right now. Make sure you check it out. It's one of my favorite films that they've done. Let me know what you think. What do you think of the Alfred Hitchcock original? If you like what you see here, my books are available on ebook and paperback. All the links are listed below. Thanks so much for watching.